Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. All right, welcome to this Wednesday edition of the POMcast. I'm, of course, your host, Stephen Willis. Before we get started, we've got a jam-packed show today. I want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. That is 1-800-330-7461. That's 1-800-330-7461. What I wanted to do was to have a resource on the ground here because with everything that's going on, everybody needs a vacation. It's 18 months at this point. So if you have somebody on the ground that can tell you the rule changes of different places, mask required at Disney, not required at Universal, things like that, you can avoid a headache on your vacation. So that's Travel and Cruise World, 1-800-330-7461. Remember, you don't pay them. They can get you the same rate you can online. They can just be a resource for you. See Central Florida like a local. Also, I want to tell you about a Book a Tailgate. Book a Tailgate, area code 662-701-1177. Basically, for all your tailgate setup and all that, you can contact them and set it up. They're flexible enough to where you can get the bare bones version of setup on the Grove, or they can cater meals. They can put a TV in your tent. Like $200 to $600 for a setup. It's a pretty cool thing. They have weekly packages available for the whole season. They have single game stuff, and they even have plus size models you can get into. So that's www.bookatailgate.com. www.bookatailgate.com. Again, this is the POMcast. You can catch us and watch us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis or at Ole Positively. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast, POMcast. Do us a favor, hit follow. You all know that we're online, we're streaming. You can catch us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. So you'll know if you need to tune in now or you can catch it on demand. And we're also on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss. All one word, all lowercase. Audio-wise, you can catch us at Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Pandora to go along with Amazon Music and Audible. I'm a really big fan of the Audible. I don't know why it's there. Also, our chat is open. As you can see right now, it's going to go off the screen, but if you comment in the live stream, it will appear on there. And I will see it because I have a version that is always up. So I'll be able to see it even if it's not on the screen. So you can have your say about the show. So we have a lot of good stuff today on today's show. We're going to talk about the defense Monday night and basically what that means. And then we have a video or a portion of a video doing a deep dive on the Iowa State defense with light boxes against spread offenses. So you can get an idea of what the idea is behind this defense, even if you look out there. Because there was times Monday night that I looked out there, it's like, hey, we got 4 people in the box. They're going to run the ball. Well, there's a method to this madness, and this will explain that as well. So we got that video, and after the break, we will do week 2 lines. I know it's Wednesday. We normally do that on Monday, but this week our schedule is all messed up. Also, I want to say welcome to the network, Bill Flowers. I believe starting next week, he will do a video talking about the previous week's games and previewing the next games, a little bit of a deep dive stuff. I did an interview with him yesterday for Rebel Rewind. That'll air Sunday at 6 a.m. It'll be on demand starting then. And he has a lot of good things to say about football and how it all lines up and what teams are doing. He has a couple of stories about Cutcliffe, about D'Angelo Williams, and all of those things. So it was pretty cool to have Bill on the show. So thank him for that. And I'm just really excited. So Monday, something appeared that we weren't expecting. We weren't expecting a defense like that. And now part of that is media people that, wow, that. So just 1 second. That's weird. We'll do that. We'll do that. And we'll delete that. All right. Sorry about that. That was weird. That just popped up in the middle of nowhere. It's like jumped in. So something disappeared. So we'll figure that out later at a later date. But we saw something Monday night that we weren't really expecting to see. And that was a defense. A true, honest to goodness defense. And there were times that, like I said, I was looked out there and there'd be like a 4-man box and everybody, I would start freaking out. It's like they're just going to run the ball. This is just going to happen. But there is a method to the madness. And what happened, the main thing is, like, this defense, to think about it in the simplest terms, is designed to take away what LSU did to us last year. Their offense of that game with Keyshawn Boutte going crazy, running Lucy routes all over the field over and over, attacking the space behind the linebackers in front of the safeties. This is designed to put that in a little bit of a box. It also forces quarterbacks to be extremely accurate. Now, I do question this defense. Now, we've been offense for a few years at this point. It only makes sense that the pendulum would start swinging the other way. And we had games under 20 for Wisconsin and Penn State. Clemson and Georgia. The pendulum is obviously swinging that way, and it comes from this defense. And it's about, honestly, just speed and attacking with numbers and designing to funnel plays to a certain ball carrier. All defenses do that. Funnel plays to a certain player. All defenses do that. Safeties have been the leading tacklers forever. Some places, linebackers are the leading tackles, all based on the construction of the defense. Well, this defense is going to be a little bit different with a 3 safety look, the 3 deep safety, and then you got 5 across, which would be 2 linebackers and another safety. Now, the person playing the star position is going to be the center safety. That's going to be like the free safety. That could change personnel-wise with this defense. We heard all offseason about how teams were cross-training to do the different safety positions. Now we know why. There's 4 of them. It's crazy. Keydron Smith moving to safety. It's not because of anything else. It's just because they're trying to get the bodies where they need to be. So you got Jalen Jones and I can't remember his name. On the right side, sorry, brain fart, senior moment. Playing on the corner position. And the inside is 4 safeties that are lined up in a way to force a running play or whatever happens to happen, but it to go where you want them to go. So college offenses have gotten so simple over the years that you go up there, you count people in the box, and you run the play. And depending on what you count, depends on what you run, and all of that stuff. Well, this is designed to give a false read to the offense, make you think you have a 4 or 5 man box when realistically you have 7 players playing the run, and you can force them to do what you want to do, and that causes a little bit of problems in these RPO offenses. So we're going to do a quick video, real quick. Well, not real quick, but we're going to basically cover defending the spread with an 8-man coverage and hyper light boxes. That's the whole thing, and it's about 8 minutes long, but it gives you an idea of the method behind the madness at Iowa State and what we're trying to do defensively. Now, we're still trying to build this up with Louisville being first, Austin Peay being second, Tulane being third, and then the big dogs come to town. We need to have this ready to go by October, and we're trying to build up this change of pace. This would not have been possible without a spring practice. This would not have been possible without a real fall camp. And Also, the mind games that they played with the media of what was going on with a fall camp. Yeah, now you see why. Now you understand why. So we're going to watch this video. I'll come back, talk for a second about it, and go from there, really. So stick around and enjoy this video.
For example, on this play, Oklahoma State's got a 1st and 10 in the red zone. The Cowboys ran the ball more than they passed it in 2020, but check out how Iowa State's approaching them in this case. They seem to be showing just a 4-man box, with both of their outside linebackers walked out to combat the 4-wide spread formation that the Cowboys are showing. When we look at this, we might ask, how can they possibly defend the run in this defense? The key here is that even though there are only 4 guys in the box, those 4 guys aren't responsible for defending the entire run game. They're just responsible for stopping up the middle and spilling the ball to the outside, where they've got those outside linebackers and that middle safety in position to add in as extra defenders against the run. To see how this works, let's start from the middle of the formation and work our way out. In the very middle of the formation, we're going to see the nose tackle and the middle linebacker pitchforking off of the center to cover up the gaps to either side of him. The middle linebacker is going to line up directly behind the nose tackle, and he's going to read what happens to him after the snap. After the snap, Oklahoma State's offensive line all steps to the left, and the nose tackle falls to the backside to end up in the gap to the right of center. The middle linebacker is reading this, and so when the nose tackle ends up to the center's right, he's going to attack downhill to his left. In this way, the nose tackle and the middle linebacker clog up the inside gaps to either side of the center. If we watch this play one more time, we can also see that the defensive ends aren't playing the kind of contain technique that you might expect from them. In fact, nobody in the front is particularly interested in setting the edge. Instead, those defensive ends are playing hard into the offensive tackles, and they're either trying to push those blockers down inside to further compress those inside running lanes, or they're trying to cross the face of those blockers to fall inside themselves. When those 4 defenders execute these techniques successfully, it creates a big mass of humanity in the middle of the formation, and the goal here is to force this ball to bounce outside, where those outside linebackers are walked out to provide the real edge defense in this front. When the ball does bounce, it comes straight to this outside linebacker who'd started the play walked out of the box, but is now in perfect position to fall in to tackle this outside run. That guy's there to take this play on from the outside in, and meanwhile that star safety, playing from his position in the intermediate hole, is free to pursue this play from the inside out. Finally, on the backside, Iowa State's second walked-out linebacker is there to defend something like a quarterback keeper on the zone read or anything similar. When we think about this defense not just as the 4 guys in the box, but in terms of all of the guys who are a part of the run fit, then we see that Iowa State's actually playing with 7 guys in run defense, and they're going up against just 5 offensive linemen for Oklahoma State. Of course, the real motivation behind these hyperlight boxes is all about the passing game, and on this play we'll get a good look at one of Iowa State's common coverage looks. On this play, Oklahoma's brought an H back into the box, and so the Cyclones are playing with a whopping 5 box defenders to account for that extra threat in the run game, but the idea is largely the same as what we saw in the last play. The reason that Heacock wants to play a 3-3 and walk his outside linebackers out to wherever there are extra receiving threats is so that he can use 8-man coverages to defend air raid-style passing games. After the snap here, we see Iowa State drop into an 8-man Tampa 2 type of coverage, which means that these 2 outside safeties are going to bail out to play deep halves, and the star safety is going to drop to defend the intermediate hole in between them. Because this is an 8-man coverage, Iowa State will still be able to use this 3-deep safety structure while also flooding the underneath zones with 5 defenders. Here we see that the cornerbacks, because they have that deep safety help over the top to each side of the field, are going to be able to contest the outside receivers on anything short. To the inside, the outside linebackers are dropping to any slot receiving threats to defend quick inside stuff or to pick up crossers, and over the middle of the field, the middle linebacker is sitting directly over the ball to take any kind of running back check down, so there just aren't going to be a lot of holes here. On this play, Oklahoma's trying to test this coverage structure by going deep, but in just a second we'll see that because this star safety is sitting in the intermediate middle of the field, the quarterback's going to have to put some air under this ball and throw it well down the field. By the time the ball finally does come down, all 3 of those safeties have been able to converge on the throw, and there really aren't that many other places that the quarterback could have put it to try and throw his guy more open. If a defense is going to be so committed to light boxes and 8-man coverages like this, then we might think that offenses would try to test them with the run game up the middle. But in the games that I watched, many of the biggest runs actually came from getting off tackle and attacking the seam in between the box defenders and those walked out defenders on the edge. On this play, Oklahoma State's going to do this with the help of this tight end here to the right side of the formation. Because they've got that tight end as an additional blocker in the box, Iowa State's bringing the outside linebacker to this side into the core of the formation, giving them an extra box defender to match that extra blocker. As we've seen, the goal for these guys in the front is to clog up the middle and then spill the ball to additional defenders outside on the edges. And so to keep that structure sound, the Cyclones are inverting their cornerback and their safety to this side. So now the safety, instead of dropping and playing a deep half like we saw in the last play, is going to rotate down to give the defense that outside defender on the edge. The cornerback is then going to bail out to be the deep half player. The problem here is that safety is too far outside to defend a quick hitting play coming toward him. After the snap, we'll see that Oklahoma State's using their tight ends to get leverage on the defensive end who's lined up to the inside of him. He's going to block down on that defender, sealing him off to the inside and opening up the edge for the running back. The running back's then going to hit that outside lane, and the safety won't be able to fall in fast enough to get the stop. A lot of Iowa State's blitz game is ultimately designed to address this weakness in their run structure. On this play, we're going to see a run to the right. Now, if we assume that the defensive end and linebacker to this side are going to play hard down to the inside to take away runs up the middle, then the next defender who could play that outside role on the edge will have to be this safety. This is a 2nd and 3 though, and so it's easy to imagine that if the running back's able to attack that edge quickly, then that safety won't be able to get down to stop him before he can pick up the first down. To combat this, Iowa State's going to use a blitz to close up that lane, with this cornerback coming down hard to take away the edge. After the snap, we see that cornerback start to come on his blitz, and the safety right here is going to jump over the top to pick up his receiver in coverage. The running back is going to try to get to the edge here, but with that cornerback coming unblocked, he doesn't have a chance. When we look for potential weaknesses in Iowa State's pass defense, we see that this basic defensive structure that we've been studying was also responsible for some of the biggest passing plays that were given up by it. We'll see a great example of that on this play. Here, Oklahoma State has 2 tight ends in the game, one lined up to each side of the formation. With no slot receivers split out wide to either side, Iowa State's going to pull their full front 6 into the box, and the goal of those box defenders here is, as it's always been, to clog up the middle and spill the ball outside. The question now becomes, if all of their linebackers are in the box, then who are they spilling the ball outside to on the edge? The answer is going to be different to each side of the field. To the left side, they're again playing that inverted 8-man Tampa 2 structure that we saw in the last play, with the cornerback bailing out to play a deep half, while the safety spins down to be that outside defender against the run. To the other side, they're playing more of a classic cover 2 look. So after the snap, we see that the cornerback is going to jump down inside of his receiver, letting him play as that extra defender on the outside, while the safety bails out as the deep defender over the top. Here's where the problem comes in. Remember that in order to maintain that solid structure that we've seen against the run and in underneath coverage, these 2 defenders, the safety at the top of the screen and the cornerback at the bottom, had to play those outside roles in underneath coverage and in the run fit. The problem here is that this leaves only 3 defenders in deep coverage. Those are the cornerback up here at the top of the screen, that star safety playing his middle hole assignment, and then the bailing safety down at the bottom of the screen. To attack this structure, Oklahoma State's just running 4 verticals, and when they send 4 receiving threats deep, they're able to outnumber those 3 deep defenders. The star safety is opening up toward the top of the screen to take the tight end to that side of the field, and that's going to leave the safety at the bottom of the screen outnumbered 1-on-2 versus a tight end and a wide receiver. He looks to take away the wide receiver running deep down the sidelines, and that leaves the tight end completely uncovered down the seam. In this way, Iowa State's efforts to play with a
All right, there we go. The weakness is in that one is the 4 verticals. I don't know why the video stopped, but it did. There was 4 verticals on 3. If it gets there, no pressure on the quarterback. There's going to be somebody that is outnumbered in coverage, and there's going to be somebody that has a 1-on-2. That's what we're talking about there. Now, the interesting thing about that is the fact that they rethought the run fit and how they wanted to defend the run. That's the realism of what's going on here, is they rethought how they wanted to defend the run so that they can protect themselves against the pass, because that's what's important in spread offenses. So you see these extreme pinching front 4s, essentially, with the middle linebacker and 3 defensive linemen, and the outside contained people are actually safeties that are running around. So in the offseason, when we told you that Ole Miss could be in a system that has Otis Reese on one side and Jacob Springer on the other, if you remember correctly, you would see that this is the way this could work. And this allows you to get real physicality on the field, and you have players like A.J. Finley, who should have had a pick Monday night, kind of doing their own thing. But it's pretty exciting what's going on, because this is the beginning of the pendulum swinging the other way. Lane Kiffin has long since been an early adopter, and him early adopting this defense is going to benefit them greatly. So it'll be interesting to see, because college quarterbacks, to remember, they don't have as much time to prepare. They're not as accurate as normal quarterbacks, and they are prone to making bad decisions. So a drop 8, that's going to be problems for 80% of the teams out there throwing the football. So it's just something to keep in mind. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will get into the lines for week 2. I know it's Wednesday and we normally do this on Monday, but this week the schedule is all off kilter. So, but we're going to attack the defense and do whatever. What I will say before we take this break is Monday night was the most physical and the most dominant I've seen an Ole Miss team look like in some time. And that includes 2015. I mean, that game looked like we were playing an FCS opponent. Just physically manhandling. So that's something to keep in mind. But we're going to take a short break. When we come back, lines. Stick around. All right, welcome back to the POMcast. I'm Stephen Willis. Of course, if you are interested in the full video on that breakdown of the Iowa State defense, the link is in the description. Be sure to watch that. And it's a lot of good stuff, because there's like 5-6 minutes of the prequel to what is going on at Iowa State and kind of how they got there. And then they talk about the light box stuff. And the light box stuff is the stuff that's really interesting to what we're doing, because there's no backstory here. I mean, it is what it is. So pretty cool. So we're going to talk about betting lines. And these betting lines right now, these are the ones that are on the board. Pitt, 3.5 favorite over Tennessee. It opened as a pick 'em. There's a joke running around that if you need Joe Milton at Tennessee to throw the ball 40 yards, he can throw you the ball 40 yards. If you need him to throw it 30 yards, he can throw it 40 yards. So that's kind of a fun joke going around about Joe Milton. He needs to bounce back against Pitt, but Pitt is kind of the East Coast version of UCLA, and a bunch of upperclassmen running the show. So they're going to be a hard out. But no path to a bowl game for Tennessee happens without beating Pitt. This is the most important game on their schedule. If they get past this one, they can win the other 2 non-conference games, and they still have Vandy and South Carolina on their schedule. So there's a chance for them to bowl if that happens. Georgia's favored by 24.5. The line opened at 29. The reason the line's going down is because of the COVID outbreak that we don't know a lot about at Georgia, who it is, what's going on. So it's got bettors a little bit afraid. UAB has a decent defense. They really do. This could be a game that's like 31-10. This could be one of those type games. I don't know how UAB is going to get the 10, because Georgia's defense looked absolutely elite the other night. And I'm going to watch that and really pay attention to what's going on. NC State's favored by 2.5 over Mississippi State. The game opened as a pick 'em. Mississippi State required a 20-point comeback in the fourth quarter to beat Louisiana Tech. Now, that could be the light coming on. That could be Louisiana Tech melting down. It could be any number of situations. But one thing that game does tell me is I'm not overly high on Mississippi State at this point. This could be a year 3 type build for the Bulldogs in Starkville. NC State, on the other hand, 45-0 over USF. Dave Doran has those guys clicking, only a 2.5-point favorite. So I'm curious. I want to see what's going on. Texas and Arkansas. Arkansas looking to go 2-0 in the Southwest Conference. Texas is a 6.5-point favorite. Line opened at Texas by 3.5. I think a lot of that is by reputation. So, people putting money on Texas, people putting on money on Texas. We'll see what's going on. But, I'm looking forward to that being a real test. Steve Sarkisian has history with this defense. He played against Arkansas last year at Alabama. So there's not going to be any surprise that happens when you line up like Louisville had in the first half against Ole Miss. It's just a completely surprise defense. All your preparation and all your service team period was actually wasted periods. So I'm looking forward to that game. Bijan Robinson, I want to see him break out. We talked about it on Biscuits and SEC's SEC preview last night. It's available early access if you are a member of my Patreon. For everybody else, it will be there Friday at 6 p.m. Kentucky at Missouri. First SEC game of the year. Kentucky looked really good this weekend. Now, but how much is that is because they were playing Louisiana Monroe. They're favored by 5 points. It opened at 3. Is Will Levis is he Joe Burrow or is he Kenny Hill? That's what we need to find out. He needs to do it again. I need to see it again. One of the games that it's just sad. It opened Colorado State and Vanderbilt. Colorado State is favored by 7 points. It opened at 1. The line's moved 6 points in 3 days, and that tells you how bad Vanderbilt is taking it from losing to ETSU and the Fighting Randy Sanders. So those are the lines this week. The other SEC games are really 1AA games. There's not a lot going on. So those are the real lines for the week. Normally those will appear on Monday. We'll talk about those. We'll build those Monday morning. We'll talk about the game. Also, I don't know if I told you, but Bill Flowers has agreed to come in and do a review preview type show of Ole Miss football during the course of this season. We're very excited about that. Huge fan of Bill. He was on Rebel Rewind this week. Nice 20-minute interview going to drop Sunday morning at 6. You can catch it now on Patreon early access as well. And today I am talking to Joe DeLeon to get a nice Austin Peay preview from the Austin Peay perspective. He's the FCS guy from the Believe Podcast Network. So we're going to bring him on. We're going to talk a little Austin Peay and the Governors. And that'll be available Saturday morning at 6 a.m. And, of course, it'll be on early access for patrons sometime tonight. And tonight, SEC After Dark with birthday boy Corey Burton and Jeb Beecham. And we're going to talk all about the games coming up this weekend and what's sure to be a pretty fun weekend of games. First conference game, Kentucky and Missouri. We went over the lines on that one. I'm interested what's going on. Also, my mom's visiting this weekend. She's going to come down. First time I've seen her since Christmas, since before the Outback Bowl. And before then, I hadn't seen her for almost a year because of COVID. So, yeah, I get to see my mom this weekend. So I'm pretty fired up about that. And let's see, what else is going on? I think that's about it for today. I will give you a couple of minutes back. Yeah, I will give you a couple minutes back just as soon as I make sure the stream health is okay. Yep. And tomorrow, we might touch on the offense tomorrow. We might touch on the offense tomorrow and what's going on. So enjoy it, watch it, have fun. the whole thing about fandom in football is to have fun. If you're not happy where you are, if you're not getting your needs met where you are, leave. Find somewhere you can. Nobody will hold anything against you because this is all about something you want. So SEC After Dark tonight with Corey and Jeb. We got a bunch of stuff coming up in the next few weeks. It's crazy. Our podcast numbers are just off the hook at this point. So thank you very much for watching, for listening, and I hope everybody has a great time. And of course, hotty toddy.